Hi guys, and welcome back to another IBRACORP video. Thanks for tuning in this week. This week we're going to change things up. I know we've had our series running the past few weeks, which honestly has been really hard work, so it's taken a lot of time and energy to put those out. And so this week we want to break it up and pick up one of the projects that has approached us to be reviewed. And today we're looking at Tube Archivist. So I hope you guys are excited to just jump back into what we do best and try out some new fun apps to try and break up these big series. So I hope it's okay, but next week will be the video on Ubuntu. This week we just want to try out Tube Archivist and show you guys what it can do. And we have a good connection with the developers. They've actually approached us quite a while back asking us to take a look. And to the devs over at Tube Archivist, thank you for coming to chat with us and bring your project to our attention, because it truly deserves some attention from everybody else. And that's what we like to do here. We want other people to find your work, try it out, give you feedback, support you any way they can if you take donations and things like that. If you like what we're doing here at IBRACORP, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out and helps YouTube find an audience like yourself that really enjoys the work that we're doing. If you want to help support us, you can also subscribe on our brand new website. We'll do a video going through the new website very soon. We're just finishing up some minor changes, but you can go check out the new site now at ibracorp.io. Any subscription you make automatically gives you a Discord role that will show you as a supporter. So we hope that is a good way for us to give back to the community, and it also helps us improve our quality of content for you and everybody else. So we really appreciate your support. So guys, Tube Archivist, your self-hosted YouTube media server. Core functionality, we can subscribe to your favorite YouTube channels, download videos using YTDLP, index and make videos searchable, play videos, and keep track of viewed and unviewed videos. Now guys, I need to put a very important disclaimer here. All I'm going to be showing you today is how to get videos from your own channel, or videos that you own and that you've published to YouTube. What you choose to use this application for is completely up to you, but I hope you understand that for the purpose of this video, I'm only going to demonstrate using my own channel. So I hope you're picking up what I'm putting down there. So if this sounds interesting, you want another way to experience YouTube, or you want to look at other options to help you save your work from your YouTube channel so that you can have a constant archive of them, this is going to be the video for you. So without further ado, let's get stuck into it. Alright guys, so we're here on the GitHub page for Tube Archivist. The repository is bbilly1/Tube Archivist. Now it's got quite a few stars there, so I'm going to make sure we give them a star as well. We'll come down and you can see, like I said, the features that it has. We've got some screenshots here as well, so you've got the home page, you've got your all channels sort of page as well. You can look at a single channel using it, and then you have the video page too. You also have a downloads page where you can monitor the videos as they're being downloaded. Now, in their own words, I like to use their own words where possible. So problem Tube Archivist tries to solve. Once your YouTube video collection grows, it becomes hard to search and find a specific video. That's where Tube Archivist comes in. By indexing your video collection with metadata from YouTube, you can organize search and enjoy your archived YouTube videos. Now that sounds pretty nice. We want to have a nice web interface. We can review our channel and download the videos that we uploaded, and have a nice way to access them remotely as well if we choose to reverse proxy that. Now we've got the installation and updating. Today I'm going to show you how to install this on Ubuntu, because we're going to be using Docker Compose. Now Docker Compose gives us so much more flexibility because we can orchestrate the Compose file and have multiple different apps that are dependent with this start up and shut down at the same time. So if you're new to Docker, you don't really know much about Docker Compose. My own personal experience with it was, I used to see it around and I used to think that Docker Compose was some sort of old method of using Docker, and how I was wrong. Honestly guys, it will change your life. You don't have to do this on Ubuntu. Unraid also has the Docker Compose plugin, so feel free to install that and you can pretty much follow along with what we're doing. There's no difference there. Just keep in mind that your ports and things like that might have to change if you're already using them. So as you can see, by default it launches on port 8000, so probably one of the first things you want to check is that that's free. You also want to make sure that the volumes that are mounted are going to where we want them, and environment variables are referring to the correct place. As it says here, it refers to port collisions if you have that in use already. You know, try and change the host port but don't change the container port. So it has two dependencies, the Elasticsearch and Redis JSON, and these are orchestrated inside of the Docker Compose file. Now there's also options about updating it, alternative installation instructions as well. So if you are running on Unraid, they have that instruction here with a support thread. So we've got 3 containers are needed. First, install the Tube Archivist Redis JSON, followed by Tube Archivist ES, and finally you can install Tube Archivist. So the guys have actually gone that step ahead already, and they have the 3 containers set up, ready to go in the community application store. What more could you want? So if you don't want to use Compose, you can pretty much just use it straight off the bat in Unraid using the containers they've put there for you on the CA store. And then there's a whole bunch of issues that you may or may not run into. If you do run into them, they've just listed them here as sort of like a FAQ that you can run through. And they have quite an extensive roadmap. They've done a lot of work on this. And like I said, they approached us. So, you know, we really appreciate them doing that. And we're happy to have a look and see what you guys think. So let us know in the comments or in our Discord what you guys think about Tube Archivist. Okay, so with the introduction complete, let's get to an install and see how this goes. Now, first things first, we've SSH'd into our Ubuntu server, which is running on our Proxmox server as well. And this is where our media server is currently running. So ideally, I would actually have a separate virtual machine for trialing this sort of stuff. So I will do that at some point. But for now, we're just going to leave it as is. I think it works fine. Now, if anybody's wondering, I'm using Termius as my SSH client. I find it really handy. It is a paid application, and I will be looking at some open source and free options once my subscription runs out. But so far, it's served me well, and it works really, really good across different platforms as well. So the first thing we're going to do is create the Compose file. Let's go to our app folder and see where we need to. Now, if I just bring over the Compose file real quick, you can see it's in the repository here as an example for you. And you've got all of these stuff mapped, ready to go. So all we need to do essentially is have a look and make sure everything matches what we want. Now the volume is not mapped to a certain location yet, so we'll need to do that. Cache also, we'll need to do that too. ES URL and the Redis host, we can leave that as is. We'll put it all on the custom Docker network probably as well. So we'll leave that. The rest of it looks pretty straightforward. We'll have to make a password for this, and the ports we're exposing look all right as well. Now in my case, I think 6379 is already being used, so that could be an issue because Orthelia is using an instance of Redis and it's on that port. However, because it's using the expose function, it's not actually going to conflict. It's only going to be assigned to this particular app, this name, running in this Docker Compose file. So that's another benefit of it. We can expose a port without actually opening the ports per se. So it means that we can have 3 of these Redis, all using 6379, but it's actually assigned to this particular container. So in any case, let's copy this in. Now, if you're using Code Server from our previous videos, you can use that. I'm just going to show you through the terminal today just to make it a bit more familiar for those who use SSH. So let's go to cd/opt. Now that's where I have my Docker containers. If I go ls, there's all of our folders there. Now in the opt folder, we're going to create a Tube Archivist folder. So make sure what we're going to do is actually switch to root, sudo -s. Now we're running as root. So make dir, and we will call this Tube Archivist ls, and we can see the folder is there. So that's great. So let's go cd and move into that folder. So now we're in Tube Archivist. Let's go to, we'll type nano docker compose .yml. The file doesn't exist, so we're creating a new file in here, and we're just going to paste that template that we saw from the repository, and let's go through it together now. So if you're not sure whether something's open or not, always check. The easiest way, if I just get out of this real quick here. Okay, so what I've done is just open another terminal here, and I'll show you real quick. So if we go docker space sudo docker ps, and we can see a bunch of our containers running. We can see any ports that are open. And 8000 doesn't look like, oh, well there you go. Portainer itself is actually using 8000, so we won't use 8000. If I just come back here, you can see the difference again. Like I said, we've got ports written there as opposed to expose. So we have ports here 8000 to 8000. Okay, and what we're going to do now is change that, and I'll just change it to 8050 to 8000. Okay, so we're changing the host port, which is on the left, and leaving the container port, which is on the right. Then it's going to ask for our volume. So media, where that's going to be saved, which maps to YouTube. Then we have the cache, where do we want that saved as well. So for the cache, I'm happy to have that in our app data location, opt/tube archivist. Okay, that's where our app data location is. For the media, what I'm actually going to do is map that to our ZFS array that's running on TrueNAS, which we'll be showing you next week. Okay, but right now I already have that mapped, so we can put that straight in, and I've created a folder in there called YouTube. So if I go up a level to media, in there we have TV, movies, and now we have YouTube. Okay, so I've essentially created a place for YouTube to live as well. For the environment, we don't need to change that, okay? That's referring to the container name, which is being exposed below, so we'll just leave that as is. UID and group ID are 1,000. I've confirmed that myself. Let's make sure yours is 1,000 too. TA username and TA password. So for the Tube Archivist password, what are we going to put there? That's up to you. I'm going to leave it as very secret. Now, obviously, please don't do that. Okay, it's just for the purpose of the video. It's going to make it a lot easier. The Elastic password is the same. We'll leave it as very secret. Time zone, wherever you are in the world, Australia, Melbourne, depends on these two. So we have those below. I'll get to them. Archivist Redis, we have image. That's pulling it down. That's fine. As it says there, for ARM64, update the line to that line that they've given you. Container name, prefer not to change it. It's already being referred to everywhere else in the file. We're exposing that port, and we're also saying it depends on Archivist ES. Let's scroll down a little further. Elastic password, very secret. Make sure we change that. Scroll down some more. We have report 9200 being exposed. All right, and we get to the bottom of the file and we actually realize that the volume section is actually being mapped for us. Okay, now for whatever reason, I couldn't get it working with that referencing the volumes. So if somebody who's better at Docker Compose than I am, please let me know what I'm doing wrong there. But instead, I've just gone in and manually set the parts as we did and went through the file that way. So we have all the parts mapped directly to where they want to be found. Now I'm going to add one extra thing. Down the very bottom here, we're actually going to add our custom Docker network. So we already have a custom Docker network that's called proxy. You can see here. And then as we go up the file, we want to make sure we're referring to that network for each item. So for example, under Tube Archivist, we'll drop one in there, one for Redis, and then the same goes for Tube Archivist itself. All right, so now we have our custom Docker network referring to all of these, so they all end up there, and then we're telling it what that network is down the bottom. Now with all that done, let's Control O and then Control X, and let's try bring that up again. So here we go, that's looking a lot better. It's starting to pull everything we need. And for those wondering, we're running the newest version of Docker Compose, which is why it looks this way and why we don't have to use a hyphen between Docker Compose when we're using commands anymore. If you're running an old version of Docker Compose, you want to upgrade it. It also will allow you to actually use the new commands, even if you're running the old Compose. So that's being created right now. Now keep in mind, I also didn't run it with the detach, so it's actually running in front of us at the moment. Now, as I might have expected, Elasticsearch is having a bit of an issue at the moment, and it looks like access denied is the problem. What we might have to do is if I just Control C and stop out of that, what we're going to do is paste this in. So we're going to make sure our owner is myself. That's my UID and GID on the opt folder and below. And then we're going to change the owner permissions to 777. Okay, now I don't recommend you do this if you don't need to. I'm just doing this and that works for me, especially being on a private server. There's nothing to worry about here for me, but at your own risk. So with that, we hit enter. But for those running traffic, there's one extra step we need to do now. We then need to run this command, which changes the acme.json file back to 600 because we've just applied that 777 to everything. The file for traffic requires those permissions, otherwise next time you launch it, it will fail. So then we run that as well, and I guess you could have them in the same command if you wanted to, but I just like to separate them here for our own purposes. So with that done, let's try to run it up again and we'll see if we have a different outcome this time. Now that's actually looking better to me. So what I'm going to do is let that run a little bit longer. We're not getting those permission issues we were getting earlier, so that's a good start. Looking good, and it looks like we're up and running. Just to confirm that as well, what we're going to do is log into Portainer. I have Portainer running here. We'll go into here, and we'll go into containers. And I just want to show you guys in a different way of viewing this, how it looks. So as you can see, there's the containers that are running, and we're not exposing any ports out, as you can tell. If we scroll down, we've got Tube Archivist down there, and that's running on 8050. So let's try with our local address and see whether we can get onto that. Okay, and there you go. So we've gone to the address of our server and the port 8050, and we're confronted with Tube Archivist. So that tells me our Docker Compose is now working very well. We're looking back in the logs here while it's running, and it looks fine to me. I don't see any issues. So let's try and sign in. Now in our Docker Compose file, we left the credentials as the default. If you've changed them, which I hope you have, make sure you're putting those details in here. We click on Remember Me and then we click Login. Now that was pretty straightforward setup. We had a permissions issue there with Elasticsearch, but naturally it's actually a good idea to always make sure we're bumping up those permissions after making changes to make sure it matches everything else in the folder. I don't necessarily recommend 777 as what you set. I'll leave that up to you to try. You can try maybe 755 and see if that works better. But 777 has done the trick for us here today, and I'm happy to keep using that. So now we're in Tube Archivist. Looks pretty cool, right? Nice interface, looks good. How do we get started? So let's have a look around what we need to do. Maybe if we start with a search and we're going to type in IBRACORP. Nope. Okay, so that's for maybe content we already have. How about we go to settings first? So click on the cog here and we'll go to settings. What I want to make sure is dark reader is off, which looks like it is. We're going to set this to dark mode anyway. Current page size is set to 12. I'm happy to leave that. We'll click update. Subscriptions page size is set to 50 currently. We'll leave that as is. Any download limits you might want to set, any throttling we want to set, scraping sleep. So maybe if you don't want it to be going too much to YouTube, we can do that as well. We can limit the video and quality format for YouTube DLP as well. So currently it's set to false, but you have the option there, which is kind of nice if you're trying to save on space or anything like that. You might want to reduce the quality of the audio or video before it's loaded onto your server. So that's pretty cool. Now we can also embed thumbnails if we want to the media file. Do you want to do that? Currently it's set to false. Same thing for the metadata embed as well. We can change it if we want to. I'm going to leave it for now. And we come down a little further. And here we have integrations to things like return YouTube dislike.com. So as you know, YouTube changed that to hide the dislikes. And honestly, I'm an advocate for showing the dislikes personally, because it kind of defies the logic of people giving honest feedback on your content if you can't actually see both sides of the argument. Sure, it's nice that, maybe sometimes I don't make a great video and people don't like it. That doesn't feel good, but it's important because it gives me feedback as well and lets other people give me feedback on how we can improve. But that's my personal opinion. So we'll scroll down a little further. You can set all those integrations up, which I think is pretty cool. So the devs have done well there, great job. We've also got scheduling we can run with cron. So you can set up a schedule for how often you want it to rescan the subs, starting to download, refreshing metadata, etc. We can also manually import files. So if I already had something in that YouTube folder, we can pull that through. And you've also got user management. So we can actually add more users if we want to as well. Okay, so we'll go to channels. We'll click on the plus icon here. And it's going to ask for the channel ID, URL, or video of a channel. So here we're going to put in our IBRACORP URL. Go ahead and click subscribe. So now it's saying it's passing the form data. So it's obviously working. It's connecting out there, which is good. Subscribing to the channel. And there we go. So we found our channel. Naturally, that's the whole reason we wanted to get Tube Archivist set up. Wink, wink. We want to grab our content from our own channel. Also, guys, thank you very much. We're on 11,200 subscribers. So congratulations to all of us there. That's pretty cool. So we can actually have channels on here that we aren't necessarily subscribed to as well. So we can unsubscribe if we want to. But now that we've got that, why don't we try and download something from the channel? So let's click on the channel here and it's going to say hide watch channels. It's off. No videos found. Great. Let's go to the downloads page and we'll rescan the subscriptions. There you go. So right now it's picked up the queue. We've got 50 videos there. It's probably doing 50 at a time, I think, because I know we have more than 50 videos on the channel, which is probably the setting that we actually set in here. But it's adding the videos to the queue. So straight away, it's already going to start loading for us. And what I might do is just pause and we'll come back to it and see where it goes from here. Okay, so the 50 has finished and now it's added them to the queue. Okay, now it says it's in queued state. So what does that mean? Well, to put it in a queued state, we don't actually have it downloading at the moment. So we can say start download, for example. We can also change that via the settings if we so choose. But let's say this short 4-minute one that we did a short on through our IBRABytes series. We'll click download now and it's pretty much going to start downloading for us. Why don't we go to downloads? Now that that's done, let's go home and we'll see recent videos here. So now that that's subscribed, guys, we have that schedule, and that schedule says on this schedule, scan our subscriptions for new videos. So let's see how this looks. Let's try and play that now. And I've just muted that so we don't double up on our voice, but look at that, it played straight away. So we can then, actually download it again from here onto our computer. So if you reverse proxy this, obviously you can then download it again. Now the awesome thing is it's actually synchronizing stuff from YouTube. So the statistics, the views, the likes, all that sort of stuff. You've got playback speed, picture-in-picture mode, so you can then do other stuff on your screen if you've only got one screen. And then you've got all the other videos here too. Now that's pretty cool. I've got to say, that's impressive, especially the fact that we can actually download it to our computer again. That gives us a really nice way to get the content we need wherever we are in the world. And obviously if it's offline, it's even better. So that's great. So guys, I hope that gives you a little overview of Tube Archivist. Now we haven't written a doc for this one because the guys have their own wiki up on the GitHub page with commonly asked questions. I believe they have their own support network as well, but we have the developers in our Discord, so feel free to jump in our Discord and you can ask them any questions you might have. They have the role attached to their name called Tube Archivist Dev, which we do for all of our community VIPs who are developers of applications. When they join our Discord, we give them a role, and that way people in the community can connect with them and vice versa. And that's one of the things that we offer at IBRACORP, a communal hub where everybody's able to get along and chat to each other. So I'd just like to thank the developers Crocs, Billy, and Schwan. Thank you very much guys for joining and bringing it to our attention. And I hope you guys, our audience, have enjoyed it. I think it's a pretty cool app. Check it out. And don't forget, if you're going to be going down this path, please try and help support us a different way. We really appreciate it. And we can't wait to see you in the next IBRACORP video.